Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about patch 10.0.7, about the gem system in it, and about other features and about the zone itself as well. But probably the number one thing to talk about is the new system that's coming out. This is not an expansion of systems, and I do think that this is not going to be an overbearing system from the little bit that I got to play with it on the PTR. Now in the background footage you will see me playing on the PTR, and this is a very simple system in my opinion, and it's not very convoluted or time gated in my opinion, but we'll see on that, and I will point out some possible pain points as well that could exist, and maybe they could make changes to that or give assurances that these are not actually going to be pain points. They're just something that I could possibly foresee happening. So how does this system work? So are you going to be replacing all your gear with gems? Do you need gear with gem slots? The answer to that question is no. One of the first things you'll do on the quest line is you'll get a new ring, right? Now in the past these have been like legendary rings, right? And they're like expansion things or whatever, but this is only for a patch. It's not super high item level. It's 424 item level, so it's like end of mythic raid item level ish. And maybe so it's like not like the highest item level in the world. Like it is the highest item level, but it's not like groundbreaking item level. It also doesn't have stats on it, so it's stamina plus 3 gem slots. And for these gem slots, it's for these special gems that you get from the system, right? Now, I can link to a Wowhead post with every gem on it. There's like a lot of them. There's like 20 plus or something gems, and they all do different things. Some of them do damage, some of them do healing, some of them do defensive stuff. And in that way, it is kind of like Shards of Domination. Now that has been a hot button issue. Is this Shards of Domination 2.0? I'll explain to you why I don't think that's the case, based again upon what when I was playing with it. But of course, there's things I don't know exactly. Like right now, the currency is called temp currency. I don't know how much things are going to cost with that temp currency. There's unknown factors still. But I do think I have a pretty good bearing on how it's shaping up to be. So is this Shards of Domination 2.0? Probably not, but we'll get into that more. So you acquire these gems and you can load them into your ring, and then your ring has these powers that the gems have, and therefore you have these powers, and there's 3 slots. Obviously for min-maxing players, you're going to grab like the 3 best ones, and for whatever fight there's some that do AoE, so maybe they're better in Mythic Plus, all these kinds of things, which are actually interesting choices. Now because the ring itself has no stats on it whatsoever other than stamina, I could see these gems not even being very good for many specs, and when they are good, it's probably going to be not monumentally better, but somewhat better. It's a way to power up your character a little bit. I'm sure they're going for, probably what they're going for is like 3 to 5% or something power. Who knows if they'll hit that mark, right? That mark could come in too high is usually what happens, and like some spec is overpowered because of it. But that's probably where they're going for this. This is not meant to be groundbreaking. This is meant to continue the storyline while also giving the players a little bit of power, right? Because players love power. Now, we don't necessarily want to do Quarthia shards or domination shards at the end of a patch, and I think that they are not doing that. So that's the other thing that's important to mention, is that this system is only for this patch. This is not like a carryover. This ring doesn't carry over into patch 10.1 into the new raid. This ring is just for the end. So the way I see it is, this ring is to help people get over the finish line. Over the finish line in the raid, like if they're stuck on a boss, stuck on Razagath, or to help push Mythic Plus keys a little bit higher. Maybe the highest key you've done is 28, and with this ring, with all of you wearing a ring, you guys can do a 29 or something like that, right? So, I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't actually know where people are pushing right now, but you could see that being the case, with everyone getting a little bit more power, being able to push the envelope just a little bit more. Faster kill times on bosses and stuff like that, skipping a mechanic or something on a mythic raid boss. I could see those things happening, and that's kind of how that works. So how do you even get these gems? We've gone about the system, talk about the system. How do you even acquire these? Is there some convoluted way to acquire them? It's actually quite easy. So you'll get the introductory quests to go in the zone, and you will you'll notice that you need to go to these vaults, right? That's this big thing, is the vaults. You will do an introductory quest, then you'll go. The introductory quest is just telling you to go to the vault. They give you some keys to play around with. You do need to get these keys, and you go into the vault. I believe it gives you 6 keys right now, at least on the PTR, so you can open 6 vaults. Each vault will have something different in it. It might have an enemy. These enemies are not very strong, at least on the PTR. You just kill the enemy, loot the stuff inside. There are little puzzles hidden in there. Something in one vault may help you open something else in another vault, so it's like puzzly, but it's not like this big grind or anything like that. It's not like a Torghast or an Island Expedition that, just think of other systems. There's not a bunch of enemies. You're basically going in with the keys, opening up vaults, maybe do a puzzle. For my experience, you didn't really have to do anything extra. You could just open up vaults very easily and just grab the stuff and leave. But there's like extra stuff you can do, like puzzles, for example. There's stuff that increases your movement speed and makes it even faster for you, and just stuff to play around with in there. It's actually pretty interesting, and it was not very time consuming whatsoever. Now, I had 8 keys when I went in because I had killed a couple rares before I went into mine. And with these, there's rares all over this zone, right? And each rare, at least in my experience, drops a key. So you can acquire keys for these vaults by going and killing the rares, and you open up more vaults. You get more gems. You get more of this currency that I believe is the currency that's used to buy the gems, because you can buy the gems. Now, it's not deterministic. They're in families. So like a fire gem, a frost gem, stuff like that, right? So let's say there's 4 fire gems. You have 2 of them. You buy a fire gem. You now have 3 of them. I believe then if you buy another fire gem, you would be forced to get the 4th one. I believe that's how it works. Obviously, this currency isn't even like active, but that's how it seems how it would work. So you get currency from doing the stuff in the vaults, and you can loot the gems themselves. Like I said, I had 8 keys. With those 8 keys, I looted 3 gems. So is the drop rate like 50% per vault, or is it like 25% per vault? It's probably somewhere in the middle of there, unless I was a huge outlier and got super lucky, and it's much lower. That would be probably the only thing I could see. But it's probably somewhere, if I just had to make a guess, probably somewhere around 25% of your keys are going to give you a gem. And these keys are very plentiful. There's tons of rares on this map if you want to farm them. So I don't see very much of an issue of getting the keys and therefore getting your gems. I don't think it's going to be a thing where you're like, oh, I still haven't got my gem. I believe there'll be somebody that gets unlucky, I'm sure. And that could be a pain point. One of the pain points, is a good time to mention it, could be, everyone in your guild got their 3 best DPS gems, and you haven't gotten yours yet. In fact, you've got none of yours yet, and you had to wait to the 5th day, and then you got yours, but everyone else already had theirs. I could see that being a pain point, but it's not anything like Shards of Domination. I think it's important to have like a little bit of friction, but the way it is now, I could see everyone having all their gems in the first week. And if that's the case, that's certainly good, right? Everyone wants everything like the first week. Like a lot of people want tier sets the first week. I believe, at least with the drop rate that I had, that you could probably get all your gems the first week. Obviously, I don't know that for sure, but that was with my drop rate. It seemed very possible that you could, if you wanted to do that, if you're a min-max player or whatever, that you could do that. So you go in these vaults, you get the gems, you get the currency, you run out of keys, you leave the vault. Pretty simple, really. And sock up the gems into your ring, and now you have this ring with these powers. And again, it's pretty simple. It's pretty rudimentary, and it was not a huge time sink whatsoever. The actual the completing the quest line part took me a little bit longer, just because it's not like flushed out very well as far as like the map showing you where to go on the PTR. It is PTR, but the actual vault itself, didn't take very long. So that was pretty easy, pretty quick. So overall, the only other pain point I could maybe see with this is people not enjoying killing the rares, right? So to get these keys, other than those first 6, the only way that I know for sure you can get them is from killing these rare spawns. Some of them are kind of tough to kill. Some of them are pretty easy to kill. Obviously, there'll probably be a lot of people doing it, so it probably won't be an issue. You just kill these rare spawns, and then you get a key. In my experience, each one dropped a key, so... I don't know if there's any other way to obtain them. Maybe there's some puzzles. I know there's like dragon riding races. Maybe doing a dragon riding race could get you a key as well. I don't know that for sure, but I know the rare spawns do. And I can see people being annoyed with that, just because some people were annoyed with killing core tier rares. But this isn't for rep, and that's not something that's going to take you a month to do. So, a week of killing rares, I don't think people are really going to be that upset about it. I think most people actually kind of like it for the first week, and a lot of people liked Korthia for the first week. Let's remind ourselves. And Xerath Mortis had a bunch of rare spawns too, and people like Xerath Mortis, so I think it'll probably be fine as long as it's not, this super extended thing, which it can't be because it needs to not be relevant by the time 10.1 comes out. So it's for sure not gonna last too long of doing this, and so I wouldn't worry too much about that if you have worries about that part of it. Now let's talk about the zone itself a little bit too before we close out here. The zone itself is actually really cool. It was obviously created like at the same time. It's probably like Waking Shores or Thaldraszus. It's like very much that vibe. It's very nice. It's a very cool zone. It looks very nice, very fun. Some of the highlights are killing the rares, and stuff there can drop 385 gear for you, so it's a good way to get your all instant 385. I believe it's bind on account gear as well. So if you kill a rare, it could drop a 385 leather item. Let's say you wear plate, you can mail that to your demon hunter or your rogue or whatever alt, and they have an immediate piece of 385 gear. I don't know if this gear is also buyable. It probably will be. That they usually put a vendor in for this type of gear, but it is 385 gear that's instant. You don't have to farm all the primal stuff to do it, and it is pretty quick to do. So if you did already farm the primal stuff, it kind of stinks. But if you didn't, then you can get this gear pretty quickly. Also, is in that same vein, the mobs there also drop the overflow stuff from the incursion events, the primalist incursion events. They drop the overflow, and it drops a ton of the overflow, at least right now in the PTR. If you want to farm those mounts, but you haven't had the gumption to go in and slowly farm the overflow, is at least at the current drop rate, you'll be able to get that stuff pretty quickly. This overflow is very plentiful. Like one mob was dropping like 60 of it, which is just a ton compared to, the other ways you can acquire it. Other things, dragon riding is pretty, obviously I love dragon riding. Most people love dragon riding. There's more dragon riding glyphs. So there's more dragon riding glyphs to find on this island. There's I don't know how many there are. There's at least 4 to 6 or so. I didn't get them all while I was playing, but it tells your dragon senses when they're nearby or whatever. So there's dragon riding glyphs. I thought that was really cool. There's the gear. There's obviously, just minimal stuff to do. Kill the rares, get the keys, do the vaults. But it's actually kind of like a little fun thing to do if you just want something to do. It's essentially kind of trying to be in that Xerath Mortis vein, in my opinion, where if you want to do something, because you just like playing World of Warcraft or whatever, or you want to do something meaningful that can increase your player power by a little bit by getting your gems and stuff. Here's something you can do, and it's a cool zone. It advances the story a little bit as well, which is a good thing to do in my opinion in the middle of a patch, not just 10.0, 10.1, 10.2. It's nice to do advancements of story stuff during the patches as well. So I like that too. Seems very promising overall. I would not worry too much about being Shards of Domination 2.0. I know there's some people going around with that. That did not get that feel at all. Obviously, that was a whole patch feature. That was the beginning of a patch feature that was meant to last 9 to 12 months. This is meant to last 3 months, right? So this is not this big expansive feature that's going to take a lot of your time. If it's only going to last 3 months, like I said, you're probably going to be done with it in a month. So I would not worry about it too much being this big, terrible issue or time-consuming issue. That's my opinion on it. That's where I'm going to stand on it unless I see something else. And so I'm pretty optimistic about it actually, because I actually enjoyed the vaults. I like doing puzzles and stuff like that. So if I found something in a vault and oh, this would be helpful if I brought it over to this vault. For me, that's actually pretty cool. So I know it's not for everyone, but you don't have to do that. So that's up to you. That's it for this one, though, guys. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. That helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.